Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. I'm Val Cary. I'm one of the prayer chaplains, and I'm super honored to be with you here this morning. Thank you. So we're sending our hellos to Reverend Sharon and to Rick, who are traveling this week, and so we hope that they're having a really good time. So I am speaking this morning about the gift of a grateful heart. So as we move into the holiday season, Thanksgiving is just right around the corner, but we still got a couple of weeks, right? And so I wanted to kick off November with talking about gratitude so that we could take it through the entire month, just not wait until the end of the month. It's an important time to slow down and after the busyness of the summer and the early fall, to take stock of how our year is going. Holidays can be tricky for some of us, depending on our relationships with our families and sometimes with our friends. For some of us, it's a time where we're happily anticipating being together. But for others, it can be a time that is stressful or dreaded. So practicing gratitude is one of the ways that we can emotionally and spiritually center ourselves. By recognizing and appreciating God's blessings, we cultivate a life full of joy and love. Gratitude is such a powerful emotion. The feeling of appreciation for what one has, often in response to a kindness, a gift, or a fortunate event. It is both a state and a trait that recognizes all the goodness in life, which can lead to benefits like increased well-being, stronger relationships, and improved health. So what does the Bible tell us about giving and gratitude? It emphasizes their importance, encouraging us to give thanks in all circumstances and to recognize God's goodness and God's blessings. James 1:17 tells us, "Every gift God freely gives us is good and perfect, streaming down from the Father of lights, who shines from the heavens with no hidden shadows or darkness and is never subject to change." And so the translations I'm using today are from the Passion Translation, and so Reverend Sharon has introduced me to that. I'm not sure if others of you are familiar with it, but it's a love language. It translates it into scripture that really draws out God's loving nature. So when we talk about God, the Father of lights, what does that mean? That means that God is the ultimate giver of every blessing, both great and small. God is consistent and trustworthy, sometimes unlike the changing world. God's goodness and provision, both the tangible things in life and also the spiritual gifts that each one of us has been given. This title refers to God as the creator of the sun, the moon, the stars, but also the source of all that is pure and good. God being unchanging, we know that. God is constant. God's goodness and nature are dependable, unlike the world, which sometimes is full of change and shadows. God is generous. We know that God's abundance has no limitations. And then let's move to 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 11. "You will be abundantly enriched in every way as you give generously on every occasion. For when we take your gifts to those in needs, it causes many to give thanks to God." And so let's break that down a little bit. God is the ultimate provider, source. This verse is rooted in the belief and the knowledge that God provides all the resources, be it financial, spiritual, or otherwise, for us to be fully abundant. And it also enables us to be generous. Enrichment is for generosity. The purpose of being enriched is not for personal gain or comfort, but to enable generosity towards others. Generosity is worship. Generous acts are seen as a form of worship and a way to acknowledge that all we have is a gift from God. Giving activates gratitude. So I have a little thing to share with you at the end. And so as I was putting it together, I was just filled with so much joy and so much excitement about this little thing that I was going to do. And whenever you think about, the different ways that you give to others, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure, it opens your heart. It breaks your heart wide open, especially if you're feeling a little bit not great that day, or if you're feeling a little tired or unsure. When you think about giving to others, ways that you can help others, way that you can be there for others. Thank you, Dee, for praying with me this morning. She said, what can I pray with you about today? What do you need for this week? She took her loving spirit and she saw something in me, and she knew that I needed a little bit of her time and her love. And so it doesn't have to be money, right? It doesn't have to be things. It could just be sharing your presence with others, sharing your love with others. Thanksgiving is the outcome. The result of this cycle of receiving from God and giving generously is that it produces thanksgiving to God from the recipient. So it's one of those ways in which we co-create, right? It's like God gives us all of this abundance, all of these times, all of these talents. And when we share those with others, we are co-creating a world of love, harmony, and abundance. One of our mission, vision, values, we are showing up to live those, to participate in those. It's a spiritual principle. The principle applies not just to money, but to all aspects of life, including time, compassion, and kindness. So what is gratitude? So MJ made this beautiful plaque. And so was this MJ and Robin? Yes. Okay, MJ and Robin, who I was like, okay, if something gets created, it's probably the two of them, which is amazing. So this says gratitude, the positive state of being grateful, an overwhelming feeling of appreciation and thankfulness, and the desire to return kindness to others. And so, their time this morning doing the meditation song and the prayer is just one of the ways that they give. And again, I'm going to talk about how talented this congregation is. We are a mighty activity of God in this world. And so we all have love and gifts to share. So I have a feeling of appreciation for everyone who helped with this service this morning. Gratitude is an affirmation of goodness. It acknowledges the good in life, even when things are difficult. It's a state and a trait. It can be a fleeting emotion after a positive event, or a stable personality of trait of being a more appreciative person. And so that takes work, right? I mean, it's really great that the feeling of gratitude that we get when something good happens, but to actually consciously cultivate it throughout the day, every day, sometimes takes commitment. It's an outward expression. So it's the appreciation toward another person or source for their kindness. Let's talk about the benefits of gratitude. It can lead to the release of endorphins, creating a sense of well-being and pleasure. This happens because expressing gratitude activates the brain's reward center and is linked to other positive hormonal and neurological changes, such as increases in dopamine and serotonin, and a reduction in the stress hormone cortisol. Regularly practicing gratitude can result in improved mood, reduced stress, better sleep, and a stronger sense of optimism. And so, improved mental health. Now, we all would like that, right? Stronger relationships. So it can increase social bonds by encouraging both giving and receiving help. And I know I'm going to raise my hand, sometimes being resistant to receiving help. That's a real thing. A lot of us who have a I can do this myself attitude. I was raised by a single mom who was amazing, who could do anything. I mean, we had a toolkit in the house, and if something broke, the two of us attempted to fix it before we went and asked for help. And that's okay, right? It's good to be self-sufficient, but sometimes we need to ask for help. And sometimes that's a physical help in doing something that we're not able to physically do ourselves, but sometimes that's somebody just sitting with you. It's a listening ear, it's a hug, it's a, spending time together. Better physical health. Studies show a connection between gratitude and overall physical health. And we just talked about like all the really great things that happen inside our bodies when we are grateful. And then spiritual growth. Gratitude encourages a deeper relationship with God, reminding us of His faithfulness, her faithfulness, its faithfulness. And thinking about how you can increase gratitude in your life. This struck me yesterday. I was running errands, and yesterday was kind of rainy, but kind of not, depending on where you were. It's like, I'd get this little downpour, and then it would be sunny, and then it would sprinkle, and then it would be sunny. But I was driving, and I kept looking for a rainbow, and I don't know where that thought came from. I'm like, ooh, today's the kind of a day where it kind of rains, and maybe I'll see a rainbow. And so that made me think, like, what are you expecting as you go through your day? Are you expecting things to go well? Or are you expecting trouble? Do you look for that rainbow? Or do you look for something different? And so again, talking about co-creating, what we're expecting, what we're looking for, when we're looking for good in every situation, that's just a perfect way of practicing gratitude. So physical steps to practice gratitude. Keep a gratitude list. Jot down a few things that you're thankful for each day. Begin and end your prayers by thanking God for specific blessings, both big and small. Try 3 good things. Before bed, reflect on 3 things that went well today. And why? Why did they go well? Expressing your thanks. Saying thank you out loud or writing a note to someone to show your appreciation. And this can be as easy as you're checking out at H-E-B and you've got that person who's standing in the middle of when you do the self-check, and even if you didn't need their help, just maybe saying, hey, thanks for being here, and I hope you have a great day. So you're activating that both in you and in that other person. Go on a gratitude walk. While walking, notice and mentally name things around you that bring you joy. So most of you know that Greg and I are now birders. We started this in March, and so we spend a lot of times outdoors. And so it's really funny, at the end of about May, I thought we would be winding down a little bit because the spring migration happened, but then I found out in Austin, you can bird all year long. And so we've been spending a lot of time outside. And then yesterday, we have some Greg's Miss flower in the backyard. And so I always, because my husband's name is Greg, I'm like, oh, this is your plant. And the butterflies are visiting it. And so it's really great that it's still blooming. Even though it's been really dry, it's still blooming. And so Greg hollered at me on Thursday. And he said, come here, we have monarchs on the Greg's Miss flower. And so we get a lot of what's called a Gulf frittery, which is a very similar butterfly to the monarch. But these were like real monarchs. And so we got our cameras and we were running outside. And, it's like, here we go. I still have my camera sitting on the entertainment center just in case, we see some more. And so I just felt so grateful for that little bitty thing that we had been growing this flower in hopes that we would get the butterflies to visit. And then when we had some hummingbirds, which in our backyard was a miracle because they usually don't stop by. Some people are really lucky with hummingbirds. We're not so much, but we got visited this summer. And so, just God's abundance of nature, when you stop and you look and you just, the incredibleness of His creations, like you think about, these caterpillars that are so beautiful and wonderful, and the fact that they turn into this really amazing butterfly. Just God's nature is so amazing. Choose Bible verses that highlight God's goodness and God's faithfulness. Choose a verse each week that focuses on gratitude and meditate on it daily. Give generously, support others financially, volunteer your time, or share resources. And I feel like that's a core value of this congregation. I think about how each of us supports the financial well-being of the congregation, showing up with your time and your talents to make Sunday services happening, participating in the weekly classes that we have, whether you participate or whether you facilitate. There's just so much goodness and giving in this congregation. Be thankful even in difficult times. Acknowledge God's presence and supreme power even when life is hard. Give thanks and see the good wherever and whenever you can. This last one, making sure you have balance in your life. Have the time to do the things that you enjoy doing. Spend time with people who bring you joy. Choose carefully how you spend your time. Not being overwhelmed, not overbooking, allows you the freedom of when you see an opportunity to give, you've got the time to do it. And then again, that giving activates gratitude. So here's my thing that I got so excited about. So I brought tiny little gratitude journals for each person. And so what I would like, and this is small so you can keep it with you, but like each day if you can, when something good happens, take a moment to write it down. And then at the end of the day, especially if you're a journaler, you can look back at this amazing thing these amazing things that happened to you. And so I would invite you to do this all the way up through Thanksgiving. And so we'll pass these out here in a minute. I just want to thank everybody here in the room, everybody who gets to see this video, because I have so much gratitude in my heart for this congregation. You guys are all just such amazing individuals. And I'm grateful for the love and the light that you spread in this world. And that's all. Thank you. Have a great week.